Thank you, Sonia. I just love her so much. And thank you to our incredible Mary Kay staff who turned on a dime this year and pulled off this incredible seminar experience for us. You know, every year, don't we say this was the best seminar ever? Well, you did it again. Thank you. And to my extraordinary Explosion of Stars unit, thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, you stayed the course right up to the very last second of the very last minute of the very last day. And I get to stand up here and take all the bows because you threw your hearts over the bar one more time. You are the best of the best, and I love and adore you. Thank you. Usually when I tell my story, I start from the beginning of my Mary Kay journey, so I'll tell you a little bit about that. When I submitted my beauty consultant agreement back in 1973, just 10 years after the company started, I was a young stay-at-home mom with 3 little ones. I didn't have a big circle of friends. I didn't have a professional wardrobe. I didn't have a lot of confidence, and I didn't even have a driver's license. No one would have pointed me out and said, that girl, she's going to be a top sales director one day, especially not me. I had just planned to do this until all the kids got in school, and then I was going to get a real job. But somehow, just a few years later, I found myself flying to Dallas for a week of sales director education. There were only about 40 of us in the class. Can you imagine? We spent the entire first morning being taught by Mary Kay Ash herself. She shared her story of following her dream against all odds. She told us how her advisors warned her that she might as well just throw her money in the trash can because her company was never even going to get off the ground. And that's when she started what she later called the Bidia Club. Bidia. It stands for But I Did It Anyway. She shared her dream for her company with so much passion that I'm sure that most of us in that class, for most of us, her dream became our dream too. She talked about the golden rule. She told us how important it was to treat other people the way we wanted to be treated. And she gave us a little marble that had a gold circle around it, and it was inscribed with the golden rule. She told us to carry that around in our pockets always to remind us of how to treat other people. She told us that everyone we met has an invisible sign around their neck that says, "Make me feel important." And she told us to always pay attention to that sign. She said she wanted to create a company, an opportunity where women's brains were worth more than 59 cents on a man's dollar, and where we could achieve anything we were willing to work for. A highlight of the morning, this is so special, a highlight of the morning was when she brought out her original date book. The date book she started holding classes for that first year in the company. And she passed it around the room. And can you imagine holding that date book in your hands and flipping the pages and seeing all the hostesses' names, page after page after page, written in Mary Kay's own handwriting? Sometimes there were even 2 or 3 hostesses' names written in the same time spot. How could she have held 3 parties at the same time? Dovetails. That's how. When we covered the marketing plan with a prospective consultant way back then, dovetailing was even listed as a potential avenue of income. And when we had several hostesses who wanted to have a party on the same day and the same time, we would give one of them to another beauty consultant to hold. All of the guests at that party would be her customers. The hostess would stay with us, the person who booked the party. And to have so many parties on our books that we could give some away gave us such a feeling of abundance. Now, the afternoon was spent with National Sales Director Daylene White. Daylene, anybody from Daylene's area? Daylene was the very first beauty consultant in Mary Kay. Daylene's consultant ID number was 0001. And so we got to hear from Daylene how Daylene started off her class by asking us, how many of you would like to know what it was like to attend one of Mary Kay Ash's sales meetings? Wouldn't you? Well, it turns out Mary Kay Ash's meetings were held on Monday mornings, and one of the very first things they did were count-ups, like we might do today as directors, count up for how much sales and so forth. But one of the count-ups was for parties on the date book for the week they were in. So they're there on Monday morning, and they would share how many parties they had. So she would start out with, everyone who has at least one party on their date book for this week, stand up. And I'm pretty sure most of the room stood up. I sure wouldn't want to be sitting down. Then she'd go on to 2 parties on the date book for this week. Keep standing. And maybe a few sat down. But when she hit 5 parties on the date books, Mary Kay stopped the count up. And guess what she did? She dovetailed all those extra beauty shows to the beauty consultants who already had 5 or more beauty shows on their date book for that week. So some of the beauty consultants would be holding 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 parties in a single week. And that is how Mary Kay Ash took her fledgling company from just 10 beauty consultants, herself and 9 friends, to almost 200 beauty consultants in their very first year as a company. How excited would you be to start as a brand new DIQ and a year later be an independent sales director with over 200 unit members? That's how they did it. But guess what? They did it without the internet. Think about it. No email, no Zoom, no social media, no texting. Mary Kay used to tell us the 3 best ways to advertise were telephone, telegraph, and tell a woman. So we told women in person and on the phone. And we hear now that the faces take us places, and they do. Then parties can take us there even faster. So to move fast, you've got to be putting yourself in front of a lot of people fast. The more parties you do in a short period of time, the faster you're going to grow along the career path. So to truly jumpstart your Mary Kay year, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to challenge me and my unit and everybody here to have a power start. Now back then, okay, I want to hear applause for that. The power start, the way I was taught way back when, was, of course, put Mary Kay on 30 faces or hold 10 beauty shows or parties in 30 days. And we act like that's a really big deal, but it's really not. I'm going to put it in perspective. A power start, 30 parties in a month, or 10 parties in 30 days in a month, is actually working 2 hours every 3rd day. That's it. 2 hours every 3rd day is a power start. We can all do that. How difficult is it to pick up the phone and call a potential hostess? How difficult is it to pack up our products and go out and meet some new friends? How difficult is it to share what we love with others? When we see a movie that truly inspired us, or it made us laugh until we cry, or maybe we find a fabulous restaurant that we absolutely loved, or our favorite boutique or store is having a big sale, don't we tell everybody about it? We have the #1 direct selling brand of skincare and cosmetics in the world. In the world. Tell everybody about it everywhere you go. Okay? Face and they'd say, Mary who? And who do you work for? And I would mumble something, I guess. But today, you get to say, if somebody says, and what do? You get to say, I'm an independent beauty consultant with the #1 best-selling brand, direct-selling brand of skincare and color cosmetics in the world, Mary Kay. Have you tried it yet? So I'm going to challenge you to be loud and proud. I'm going to challenge you to practice saying that till the words just slip right off your tongue. because that is going to make a difference. Thank you. So I was still a fairly new sales director when Mary Kay Ash decided to come to our area to do a workshop. And I came up with this idea. I thought it was a brilliant idea, that why not have a promotion that every consultant who had 10 parties in a week could have their picture made with Mary Kay. This isn't in my script, but I'm going to tell you the truth. We forgot to ask Mary Kay's permission. She was very gracious, and she did, of course, but she said, don't ever do that again. She said, next time ask me first. But she was so thrilled to do it. And frankly, we were not expecting to have a tremendous, amount of winners, right? 10 parties in a week. And so we were stunned by how many consultants and directors achieved that goal. There were some consultants who had never even held 3 parties in a week in their whole business, and they held 10 parties, for real. The line was long. We were all set up to start at 8 a.m., and the meeting was going to start at 9. We had a ballroom full of people waiting to hear Mary Kay Ash speak. So I was the one who was given the responsibility to move the line along as quickly as possible. Mary Kay said, if we don't move fast, I'll never get into that ballroom. But Mary Kay Ash did what she always did. She made every single person in that line feel like they were the only person in the room. She looked deep into their eyes, and she listened as they overflowed with excitement. And she would say something encouraging to each one. And I remember at one point I kind of reached up to put my hand on somebody's arm to say it was time maybe to move along. And Mary Kay turned and gave me that look, like, go away, we're busy here. Joe Chadbourne and Rita Potter, who went on to be nationals, they went ahead to start the meeting to give Mary Kay more time. And finally, and this is what I wanted to share, finally, we were finished. And as she and I raced across the ballroom, slick marble floor in our high heels, I was so afraid she'd fall. She turned to me, and we're running, and she said, oh, I hope they're not upset with me. But that was just so important. You see, to Mary Kay Ash, this visit wasn't just a promotional tour. It was a mission. She was changing women's lives. Mary Kay once closed one of her seminar talks with the words that I'm going to read to you now. But as I read her words to close, I'm going to ask you to pretend like it's Mary Kay speaking to you, to each one of you, and not me. So as she was at seminar, and I was there for that talk, as she looked over the audience at her daughters, which is what she called each of us, she said, you are here today because you have a vision of the success that can be yours. You are sitting where those who have achieved greatness in our company have sat. You are thinking the same thoughts that they thought and facing the same obstacles that they faced. They too had small children and husbands who weren't supportive. They worked full-time jobs. They had teenagers. They were single parents. They had PMS and menopause and depression and vacations and holidays and lazy days. And they even had bad hair days. But they became members of something we call the Bidia Club. But they did it anyway, whatever it took. Then she said, perhaps you have put your financial future on hold because life is happening all around you, and life goes on, and sometimes it's busier, and sometimes it's more hectic than normal. But aren't we glad that we have a flexible career where we can have it all? Can you feel Mary Kay Ash's passion in those words? She was passionate about removing the glass ceiling so that you and I could have and be and do anything we were willing to work for. She was passionate about building a company that would give women a future that they had never, ever even dared to dream about before. Can you imagine that when I was a stay-at-home mom who didn't drive a car, that I would have dreamed of one day sitting on a throne, wearing a crown on my head, earning diamond jewelry, and earning fabulous trips to places around the world? Heck no! I just dreamed about getting the piles of laundry done before I had to cook dinner. We have to realize the awesome power we have in our hands with this Mary Kay career opportunity. And we have to give it away. There are people out there right now who are working 3 jobs just to get by. We can show them how to have that and so much more. This wonderful product we have doesn't do anybody any good sitting in our closets, but we can change lives with it. It's time to get passionate. Are you ready? Here we go. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for the #1 sales director in the Emerald Seminar, future executive senior sales director, Cathy Eckhart.
You are a Seminar $2025 million sales